Of Atlanta. It's a nice fall morning, and I thought it would be nice just to walk and talk. So here we go. So, in a nutshell, what is dispute management? Dispute. Well, dispute management is simply the process of, it's the same as ADR, alternative dispute resolution, but really we don't resolve a lot of our issues so we just manage them. We get contracts, we go to the next step. So really just managing. That's why I call it dispute management. So what's the definition of objective criteria? And in a nutshell, it's a tool. It's a tool that we use to bring parties together to talk about, the standards, specific, based on science, and reliable data, so that we work on that. We're looking for verifiable data, evidence that allows for a fair and consistent assessment of the issues. And I'll give a kind of a brief example here. It's going to be real brief, because these get really complex and they get complex fast. So, I want to make sure that you know that it's not based on opinion, and it's independent of what the parties believe. It's not what you believe, it's what you can show. So again, the purpose of using this tool is to provide a level playing field with consistent results that are definable and qualifiable. We can quantify and qualify what we're talking about. So how's it created? It's created in several ways, but generally it's conducted by a third-party independent mediator that's a subject matter expert or knowledgeable of those facts for that dispute. So we're going to do a collaboration exercise to talk about what we can find in common. Those are the key points that we want to do with each party. So usually the people that are these mediators are retired judges, governmental officials that are aware or that are technical experts, and I would definitely point out that not all governmental executives are technical experts. So, I myself am an independent third-party technical expert. My expertise is in water, mining, and community-type disputes that we work with. I did a lot of work with tribes when I worked for the government. So let's say there's a disagreement between some NGOs, some non-governmental organizations, and governmental agencies or corporations, and a lot of these will vary around different permits, different ability for one party to achieve something that the other party regulates or wants to regulate. So I start with each party.
Arthur's in Midway.
You're going to edit that out. So I start with consultation with each party individually. And I do that for a reason, because I need to collaborate with them to find what their true goals and objectives are. So I bring the parties together later once we've done some, analysis and come up with a plan. So to do this, I start with open-ended questions. Generally, it's like who, what, where, when, and why. Those are generally how you start with open-ended questions, so you can get quite a bit of stuff done just by asking that. So again, you know, these are very simplistic and very open questions on whatever the subject matter is at the time. So, and I want to note that each of the parties create their own criteria that they want to talk about, and then when we get them together, we try to compare those. Once they have created it and they feel that the criteria meets their goals and objectives, we start the process with each individual. You know, I'm going to start here with just kind of a really simplistic example. So one party might want to say they might want to save an endangered species, you know, and really there's a lot to pick from, so that it could be just about anything. So you're gonna, you know, what do you want to save them from? You know, I mean, I'm looking for evidence, I'm looking for facts. You know, is it less habitat? Is it food sources? I asked him to give examples based on, you know, based on evidence and statistical trends and so on and so forth, that they can show what's going on with it, you know. So you want to go slow, and you want to eliminate the chaff, you know, the stuff that isn't really all that practical. So then again, you know, the next question is, you know, what are the environmental factors that affect it? Maybe, you know, you get. I want to jump here and just say maybe we're looking at global change or global climate change, you know. And so then how do you reduce that? So you're going to find that a lot of people have, and a lot of groups have the same idea, they just go about it differently. So then I asked him, what do you think the other party perspective is on what you're trying to do? And it's not conjecture. We need facts. You know, if they've done something, a research project, or they've got you know, data that they can show that supports or even goes against what you're saying, those are important issues, because they're going to bring them up. You know for a fact they're going to bring these things up. So we need to talk about it early. And again, the reason I'm asking this is to see if there's common goals and objectives. And if there are, we need to address those. And we want to do this in a collaborative manner so that each party feels that their issues have been addressed. And note that I said a solution and not a resolution. And there's a big difference. Solutions, you know, can be very simple. Resolution is kind of a permanent way of looking at it. And that's where we get back into saying that it's dispute management, because we're going to find little solutions and we'll put them all together in a systematic process where we can come up with overall objective and goals for this problem. Then I give them homework. And this sometimes, I mean, because generally I don't like to do a session more than 4 hours, because you just get burned out. People can't really, you know, function more than 4 hours. So I give them homework, and I want a more thorough discussion on what their intent and what they expect the outcome to be, and what they expect the other party's outcome to be. So I want them to come up with a plan, how to approach this and how to resolve some of their issues. And the reason we do this exercise is to provide a neutral playing field and to speak to the complexities of the situation, as well as the scientific and technical data and statistical trends that pretty much prove their point. And it's also trust building. When we get a bunch of people together that are experts in their field, they will be open. It can get very argumentative and confrontational. And so that is not a bad thing. I mean, the Constitution was set up to be confrontational. So that's kind of the way the democracy works. But so this is collaboration for problem solving. So we're trying to solve these issues and come up with solutions. So it's a trust building. So if you know where I'm coming from and I know where you're coming from, then we can reach some kind of a solution. And, in all the ADR books, they always say, "Oh, win-win solution." Yeah, maybe not. And you also don't have to give up something. A lot of mediators will tell you have to give up something to meet in the middle. No, you don't. There's other ways around that. So all the time that we're doing this, the mediator must ensure neutrality. You've got to be neutral in this process. A lot of times we try to get people together and the dispute is just not right. It's not ready. There's too many people that are mad. There's too much going on. And so they're just not ready to sit down and talk. So you've got to make sure that the situation is ripe for discussion. Okay, I also try to provide a balance of power. I don't let people talk over each other. I establish a rule, and if you got certified or registered or licensed, different states call it different things for how you're allowed to do mediation in your state. In the federal government, you don't have to because you're doing federal work, and so that's different. But you've got to maintain some source of of power neutrality. You can't let people talk over each other. I established those rules early, and they have to agree to them before we go on. If they don't agree to them, then we don't go on. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, again, mediation is voluntary. You don't have to go to mediation unless, of course, it's court mandated, and that's a different animal. So so some of the techniques that the mediator uses in this first part, when we're talking about doing the collaboration, that's facilitative mediation. And when we're looking at the data and stuff, that's evaluative mediation. And then the last one that we talk about is transformative. And transformative really gets into sometimes, depending on the subjects and the sociology, the psychology, the communities, issues, and so forth. And that can be quite complicated. So just be aware of that. But if you want to know more information, I talk about this in my book, which is Resource-Based Dispute Management, which is a guide for the environmental practitioner that you want to do environmental dispute resolution or dispute management in this case. So I hope you enjoyed this trip. I will see you again on the next video.
They've had like chicken salad, they've had all these different things.
So I hope you enjoyed this little walk with me. And I'll see you again on the next video, which, and let me know in the comments below if you like the idea of doing the little nature walks. I do, because I like getting out into nature. This is kind of like my little slice of utopia. So there's a lot of beautiful scenery here. And I was hoping to see some deer, but there's a lot of deer here, but I didn't see any today. But, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that there are limitations in this process. There are certain things that we have to talk about, and we will talk about in future videos. So have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the trip.